Corey, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. So I'm going to make this quick. We'll do a quick introduction, just let people get in and get settled. And then I'm going to give it over to Corey to really get into the nitty gritty. So today he's going to be talking to you all about some simple Google Ads changes that you can make for an immediate boost in sales. So just some easy housekeeping. Use the hashtag SEJ webinars to share any cool tidbits from today's learning on social. And if you experience any technical difficulties, please use the chat box to let us know. There's separate tabs for questions and chat. Just take a second, get familiar with those. If you see any questions that you want us to ask at the end, you can give it a little thumbs up, and that'll tell us that it's something that you like, and we'll make sure that we ask that when we hit the end at the Q&A portion. So there is closed captioning. It's the little CC in that upper right corner. So if you need that, just give that a click, and we will do our best to link to any resources or tools in the chat. They'll also be included in your recap email. After the webinar, if you can stick around for a short survey, it doesn't take more than like 30, 45 seconds. It just lets us know how you enjoyed today's webinar and how we can do them more successfully for you in the future. And last thing from me, and then I'm out of here, is you will absolutely 100% receive today's recording and slides in your inbox later. I love seeing all of these. Hello from Philadelphia, from New Jersey, from Portugal. I love it, guys. Keep it going, but I'm going to get out of here. Corey, it's all yours.
Sure. Okay, guys. So we're going to go over 3 simple Google Ads tweaks that are going to immediately boost your sales. So on this webinar, we're going to cover what those 3 tips would be for your business as well. So the tips are going to vary a little bit business to business, but we're going to for sure cover tips that'll work for your business as well, regardless if you're doing B2B, B2C, product, services, local, national, doesn't matter. There'll be tips for sure that'll work for your business type 2. That'll 3 to 10x the amount of sales that you're getting from your Google Ads campaigns as it exists today. So with that said, just to let you know, these tips, I'm pulling these tips from our PPC agency where we actually guarantee results for our clients, and there's certain go-to strategies that we use to get them results every time. And we know about what the results we can expect from these strategies because we use them all the time over and over again. So with that, the information I'm sharing with you here is proven and very valuable in regards to that and why I'm sharing it today. So with that said, I'm actually going to get into the e-commerce tips here first. So if you don't have an e-commerce business, by the way, you'll just have to wait a little bit longer. Later on in the presentation, I assure you we're going to have tips for your business type specifically, but I'm sure you'll learn something from the e-commerce tips here as well anyway. So that said, most of you guys do shopping or PMAX campaigns if you're doing e-commerce. And of that, 80% of the performance of your shopping campaigns will be down to your image and the price that's showing on that shopping campaign, which I'm going to show you how to optimize both. Okay, so the first thing you're always going to want to do with this is you're going to want to test/optimize your product images in shopping. And the way that you're going to do this is you're simply going to go Google and search for how other products that you're competing against in shopping show up for your keywords right now. And then ultimately, you're trying to see what it is that everybody else is doing the same. Like with these toasters here, everybody's doing it basically the same way, right? In this case, it's pretty easy. If we put toast in the toaster, we're going to have twice the click-through rate on our ad because we stand out and users' eyes are drawn to what's different. By the way, if you double the click-through rate on your ad, you'll triple the amount of money you're making from that ad because you're going to get a reduction in cost per click along with that increase in click-through rate. You're going to start getting shown more as a whole because of that, because Google likes to show the ads that get the highest click-through rate the most, and then therefore you'll make triple the money. So with that, you'll have to figure out how to stand out. Now, you do not need to change or take any new photography to be able to do this for your market. You can simply take the photos that you have and tweak them a little bit, like we have here with this massage chair. All we had to do in this particular market is change the angle of the chair, add a little bit of a drop shadow here to the chair, and then boom, we have our double in click-through rate, which leads to a tripling in profit from our item here. And so once you find out what works for one item, obviously you can kind of do that usually to the rest of the items. Now, a lot of people don't do this because they think whatever they have on Google Shopping is what they have to do on their product page on their site, and they don't want to junk up their site. If you use a supplemental product feed on Google Merchant Center, which hooks into Google ads in Google Shopping, you can have a totally different optimized shopping image than what you have on your website. So with that, you can change it to your heart's content, really. And so with that, you have quite a few ideas that I have here that you can, or in different routes you can go with this. Of which the main route that I usually go to double the click-through rate on our ads to triple the amount of money we're making is to add markup or an overlay on that image. And so Google actually officially only allows this in a few categories. The nuts and bolts here, like you see here, are one of those categories. However, what we found is in 80+% of the time, you can actually change and add an arrow pointing to the image, which is one of our favorites. You can add, like if you're selling a customizable t-shirt, you can put your logo over the t-shirt and it'll get approved anyway. And so with everybody else thinking that they can't do it, and then you go ahead and try it and you're the only one that does it, boom, you right away have your doubling in click-through rate already just from that. So you obviously can test it out on one image and then see from there if that'll work. And then if it gets approved, you can do it for the rest of your items. So that's the easy way to go. The other options you kind of have is you can change the angle of the object that you're selling here. You also could add the accessories next to the product. A lot of times that'll get approved just fine. A lot of times you can add a background to your product. And if everybody has a background on their product already, you should use a white background, because if that's what stands out, that's what's going to get double the click-through rate. So you have quite a few options of what you can basically do. So you'll have to find out what works for yourself. But with that said, I said you could triple the amount of money you're making from shopping if you can figure this out for your market. You really can make a lot more than that. You can make as much as 10 times more from shopping once you figure this one thing out for your shopping images. Why? Because once you do this, and Google ultimately sees that you have a higher click-through rate than your competition, they're not going to just show you once out of the 8 shopping images. They're going to show you 3, 4, 5 different times out of the 8. And you're really going to start making some money, like Shein does here in this example that I've shown you here. So literally speaking, this can be the total game changer for your business, just figuring out this one simple thing and getting it applied to your business. So from there, though, you can also optimize the price that's in your shopping ad and also do really well and get even more profit in addition to what you have than just optimizing that image. And so with that, like, let's say you're in a market like with these motorcycle helmets here. If everybody else is priced like what you're priced at, $119, like in this example, what you can do is lower the price by $2 or $3 only. And with that, you'll generally get a doubling in click-through rate once you've done that, because there's a certain percentage of the people that are going to click on the cheapest one, because that's just basically what they do. So by lowering your price $2 or $3, which barely affects your margins, you're going to be able to get double the click-through rate, which will get you about a 50% reduction in your cost per click. You're going to get shown about double the amount of times you were shown before. Your conversion rates on the clicks you have coming in are now going to convert it like 25% better, because people that see are the cheapest before they come in are going to start converting at a higher rate. And when you add all this up, you're going to make 3 times as much money from that item just because you're $2 or $3 cheaper than you were. So obviously you're not always going to be the cheapest, but as it works out with the math, as long as you're within 20% of being the cheapest, as compared to the people that you're showing up next to in shopping, it'll be worth it for you to lower your price. So you are $2 or $3 cheaper. So you get the doubling in click-through rate, because you'll make more money even despite the lower margin you have on your product, selling it at a cheaper price. So, and you really do only need to be $2 or $3 cheaper to get this doubling in click-through rate. So what I encourage you to do is just simply see where you show up for all your items on shopping, see where you're within 20% of being the cheapest, lower your price, nudge it so you are actually the cheapest, and then get your doubling in click-through rate. Furthermore, with the last tip, some of you guys may not be able to do that because you're not the cheapest in your market. And I understand that, but you can use this other trick. Everybody can do this one, and it's even easier. You can use the ending digit of 7 in your product price and generally also double your click-through rate just from this alone by itself. And it's just like it sounds. If your product price, like the example here, is at $228 now, you change that simply to $227, you're going to double a click-through rate from that individual item just because it ends in a 7. Because there's a psychological hack where humans are drawn to the number 7 and prices that end in 7. And if you look around after this presentation and you start seeing prices, you'll see that people are using this. They just don't talk about this. So it's not just on shopping that this works. So, and as I mentioned before, if you double the click-through rate, you're going to be able to actually triple the amount of money you're making by the time you factor in the cost per click reduction, getting shown more. And so obviously this will triple the amount of money you're making just all in itself when you do this for all of your items. So, and naturally, another thing you often obviously see out there is prices that end in a 9 as well. And there's a reason for that. As we've tested this, we found that 9 at the end of your prices will increase the profitability of your price or of your item if your products end in a 0 right now. However, you'll make more money if it ends in a 7, to the point where if your product starts with a 0, as we found, you'll get an average of 1.35x increase in profitability on shopping for that item if it ends in a 9, switching it from ending in a 0. But if you switch from ending in a 0 to ending in a 7, however, we were getting a 2.2 times average increase in profitability from that item on Google Shopping. So, and then all other digits, by the way, it's either you make nothing more or you lose money. So those truly are the two that work, and 7 by far works the best. So that's something that's just so easy to do, and you can immediately get some results off of that. So with that said, I'm going to go into the next tips for national/regional service providers, which what this is, it's like a national sales training company or a product design firm that operates nationally. So if you're in this type of market, 75% of your performance is going to be down to the keywords you choose and then the usage of language on your ads. And so I'm going to give you some real examples of this. First of all, in terms of the keywords, you want to just simply narrow down your keywords to these so-called buyer keywords. The typical person that's going to target people for a prototype development customer, like if you develop prototypes for companies, the average person's going to target keywords like prototype firms, prototype companies, prototype maker, prototype designs. And what I'm telling you here to do today is to just forget about all these other keywords except for the keywords that end in firms, companies, services, agencies, near me, stuff like that, because those people are serious. The other people, sometimes they're serious, but most of them aren't. And you can more than double the efficiency of your account immediately if you just switch to these high priority keywords where you're sure that they actually are looking to do business right away with you. And once you've done that, then the goal is to quadruple down on those high priority money keywords, which going into the next tip, that's exactly what I'm showing you how to do. So with that, you're going to take the keywords you have and you're going to write unique ads for every one of those keywords. It's going to take some time, but you're going to triple the amount of money you're making from the same opportunities doing this. So for instance, if the user types in new product design firm, your ad's going to say new product design firm. It's not going to say new product design service or anything like that, because you're not going to get your double in click-through rate, and therefore triple amount of money you're going to make from those ads once you factor in the reduction in cost per click you'll get along with that, and the increase in impression share, i.e. the number of times your ads show, because you aren't guaranteed to always show in the top 4 ad spots on Google unless you have the highest click-through rate, in which this gives you essentially. So with that, that's the first thing you'll immediately be able to do that'll always increase the money you're making. Further from there, you can add that same keyword that the user types into Google into the headline of the landing page. So literally just simply by putting that keyword as they type it in the landing page headline, you'll get a 40% average increase in conversion rate just having done that one little simple thing right there. You'll also get a reduction in your cost per click doing this, because your conversion rate will go up and therefore your quality scores will improve just from this one fact. Furthermore, building upon that, if you put the user's location in your ads and your landing page, you'll make even more money, to the point where what we'll always do to take advantage of this in markets that we're in, if we're a national product development company operating nationwide, we won't just have one campaign for everything. We'll have a campaign for each major city across the US, and then like the top 50 basically, and then one campaign for everybody else that's not in one of those top 50 cities, so that if the user's in Chicago, when they're searching, they see Chicago in their ad. And I know what you're thinking already. Ultimately, if I don't have an office in Chicago, aren't people just going to want to come into my office in Chicago? And the reality is no. Just like people anymore, if they don't want to come into your office to do business with you now, if they're local and they could come in, they're not going to if they start seeing their city name in the ad. But what it will do is increase the click-through rate of your ad by double, which will triple the amount of money you're making from your ads again, just because they saw the city in their ad. The fact that that city is in the ad, is going to make it more likely to be clicked. And then furthermore, if you put that same city name that the user's in your landing page on top of it, you get another 20 or 30% conversion rate increase on the traffic that you're driving. So you'll make 3 times more just because it's in the ad, because you doubled your click-through rate. And then on top of this, you get an extra bit of conversions of the people that turn into actual leads because it's in your landing page. The reason why this works, simply put, is going back to the whole foundational concept here. There's 4 ads at the top of Google. The user's got to decide what to click on. If you're going to search for a new product design firm, you're from Chicago, what are you going to click on? You're looking for a reason to decide to narrow it down. And that just makes it so obvious. That's why you're going to double your click-through rate just by having the city name on there, even though the user's not necessarily thinking, oh, I want to come in right away, because that's not what they're thinking necessarily. So anyway, that's another tip for you to increase the profitability of your ads for this type of market. By the way, sometimes in some of these markets, you'll actually do a little bit better. Instead of saying the city name, you'll say the state name in the ad, in the landing page as well, like I have on the slide here. So what I encourage you to do is test it both ways. Test to see if the city or the state works better, and then just go with the one that works better. So I wanted to bring that up as well on this presentation. So moving forward, the next tips that I'm going to have are for local brick and mortar product sellers. Okay. Now this is going to be like your local furniture store, local tennis supply store, stuff like that. Okay. And if you're in this type of market, 85% of your results on Google Ads is going to be down to the keyword selection and the landing page you pick out, which I'm going to show you real examples of both, what you can use to immediately increase the profitability of your ads. So with that, you're going to start with using buyer keywords. So what I mean specifically by this is, let's say you have an elderly care supply store that sells walkers and motorized scooters and stuff like this. You could actually, like the average person, just target elderly care supply stores and stuff like that and get sales that way. And you absolutely can, and you should do that. However, that's like 15% or less of the market that you can get that's available through Google Ads. The other 85% plus is going to be from people searching for specific items. They're not necessarily looking to get locally, but you can divert those people to your business or to your website to buy from you instead, and do so because you have a major edge on them that the other people that are selling naturally don't have. And I'm going to explain why. So with that, in order to capitalize on this, going into the second tip, you're going to put the location of your business where it's located in the ad itself. And so with that, so going back to the product keywords, you're going to target keywords that represent the products you sell. Like our example here, if somebody types in mobility scooters, we're going to have an ad that shows up that says something like mobility scooters in Phoenix, or the name of your city, buy from us now, or what have you. And because the city name is there, the user's eye is going to be drawn to that, and they're going to click on that more than the other stuff that's automatically listed there on Google. As a result of that, you're going to pay about 40% cheaper cost per click than the national competitors that you're competing against. And then with that, there's no reason why you can't monetize the space, because you're getting the ad space for cheaper than everybody else, particularly as if you know how to follow that user up to maximize the conversion of it once you got them to your site. And so with this next landing page example I'm giving you here, you'll make 3 to 4 times as much money going with this basic layout that we perfected for this type of business, and we'll lay up that type of customer and give you a slam dunk with them once they get there. So what this actually looks like here, assuming that, going back to what we were talking about before, the user is searching for mobility scooters. You take them to a page right here, and right away, the big image here shows that we got a brick and mortar business. So they know we're not fooling around. We really are local. Furthermore, they see a map right away, and they see a pin on the map so they can see exactly where we're at. So if they want to come in, they know that we're not too far away. So they're ready to invest more time in investigating like what we have. Furthermore, we show some visuals of the products that supposedly we have right up front. And then furthermore, we also have a link to the inventory we have of those mobility scooters so that they can go ahead and look at what inventory we have before they come in, and it's convenient for them. So with this, the reason why this converts so well is because we're catering to all 3 types of buyers without alienating any individual one of which is people that want to get to your page and then just come in right away. The other people want to come to your site, browse online, then come in. Then there's other people that want to come to your site, browse online, and then just buy online. And so everybody else, all three of those people are catered to very well. And you have a major edge on your competition of the national players because people that get to your site, they still have the convenience of shopping online, but they can also come in immediately and buy, or they can get it shipped to them the next day, which most other people obviously won't be able to do that. And they can obviously return it easier. So why is it that if you can do the same thing the online people are doing, but with other major advantages going on for yourself here, can you not make a lot of money from these searches? And the answer is you can. And so, ultimately at the end of the day, there's people, if you're going to survive in business doing brick and mortar product sales, this is the way forward with the type of business that's going to put you in position to grow and compete with these other people that are selling nationally because of how well this is set up. And so if you want to make a lot of money, I recommend going and doing business this way specifically. So that said, moving forward here, local brick and mortar service companies. We're going to talk about tips that are going to increase your profits for such as doctor's offices, massage clinics, tattoo removal clinics, stuff like that locally where people have to come to you. And in this type of market, 75% of your performance is going to come down to your keyword usage and your landing page design. So with that, I'm going to give you examples of each of these. So the first thing you're going to want to do to triple the amount of money you're making is put the keyword as the user types it in your headline. So to do this, of course, you're going to have to write a unique ad for every keyword that you're targeting. But if you do this, you'll double the click-through rate on your ad because when they have 4 ads to choose from, your ad stands out. And so if let's say you have a fertility clinic here that you're running. If a user types in IVF Clinic Tampa, you want to say IVF Clinic Tampa or IVF Clinic in Tampa, not IVF Clinic Services or whatever, because that's not going to double your click-through rate. But when you do that and you have it matched pretty much exactly, you will double your click-through rate. And then doubling your click-through rate, again, brings down your cost per click roughly in half. It'll double the amount of times, roughly speaking, overall that your ad will be shown. And then there's where your triple the profit comes from, just doing that one simple thing right up front. Beyond that, you can add the location of the location of your business in the ad, and that will also increase your profitability. So when for this type of market, so the people that are within 3 miles of your place of business, those are the most profitable people of all. And you want every last person you possibly can in that radius because they're so profitable. There's a technique you can use with your ad that'll triple the likelihood that they're going to click on your ad if they're within 3 miles. And while you're at it, drop what you're paying for a click in a third. And that technique is when they search IVF Clinic Tampa, you're going to say something like, come see us downtown on 38th, because that doesn't just show you're close. That proves you're close and it can't be faked. So they know when they're trying to decide what ad to click on, that's why you're going to get triple the amount of people that you had before clicking on your ad once you've done that. And then if you want to make a little extra money, you can add your map and a pin on the map or a star like we have here to show exactly where you're at when they get to your page, to follow that up so that they know you mean business and you're helping them out. And that's why they're there in the first place. You'll get an extra 10-20% extra conversion rate because you added that to your landing page before they have to scroll anywhere. Furthermore here, just to go the other direction. So in order to do what I just said, you have to have one campaign that just targets people within 3 miles of your place of business. Then you also need a campaign that targets everybody else more than 3 miles away. So with that, for the people that are more than 3 miles away, you're not going to do what I just said because that'll actually hurt your conversions. What you're going to do is if you're operating in Tampa, you're going to say something like #1 clinic in Tampa, going back to the fertility clinic example here. And that will actually tell the user that you're probably close, but not exactly where you're at. So if they're trying to exclude the company based upon how close somebody is, they're not going to be able to automatically exclude you because they see you're just a little bit further away than they like. You're going to wait until they know you a little bit better to reveal that information. So that's what you would want to do for those people. And then furthermore, when they get to your page, you don't want to have a map, address, nothing like that on your landing page because, again, if they know where you're at, it's too easy to exclude you before they know who you are. Of course, they are going to know where you're at before they come in, but if you can get them to call first and then find out after you've talked to them for a little bit, built some rapport with them over the phone, they aren't going to care if they have to go an extra 10 miles to get to you at that point. So you'll actually hurt your conversions telling them where you're at if you're farther away from that particular prospect. So you do something totally different for the people more than 3 miles away. And so that is my tip for you there. Going forward here on the landing page. So if you use a particular style landing page that we've developed, you will be able to get 2 to 3 times more conversion rate or number of leads for the same traffic you're driving once you've instituted this for your business. And the whole thing with this landing page technique is there's 3 main things that people always need to know right up front before they're going to be able to commit to doing business with you. And that is, they need to know, can you do what they came for? Are you drivable or within driving distance? Can you be trusted? If right away in the headline of your page, you put in there what the user typed in on Google, they immediately know that you can do what they came for. Furthermore, in terms of seeing if you're drivable, if you put right there where you're located, or if you're within 3 miles, you say what street you're on, they immediately know that. And then all that's left for you to do is to convey that you can be trusted. And the quickest, easiest way to do that is to have your average review ratings on the page before they even have to scroll anywhere, because everybody knows what a 4.9 Google rating is. So when you say that, they know instantly that you can be trusted, and now they're ready to do business with you. And it took less than 5 seconds to do that. The key with all this is the quicker you convey those things, the more likely they are going to be to convert, and less likely they are to be frustrated and leave before they're willing to go with you, essentially. So because we're communicating it so quickly, you'll get 20, 30, 40% of people to turn into a customer with this type of landing page layout. And it's really all down to the layout. That's where the magic is here. So you can use this layout to your advantage. Going into the last business type here, local home services, or services where you physically go to the customer locally to deliver that service. We're going to go into those tips next. So in this type of business, 90% of your performance of your Google ads is going to be down to the ad copy or the language on your ad and the landing page design you're using as well. So with that, I'm going to give you some examples here. The first thing to mention is the keyword itself. You want to use the keyword in the ad. This is similar like what I talked about before. You write an ad for every keyword that you got. And let's say you're a crime scene cleanup company where you clean up suicides and homicides and stuff like that. If you're in that type of market, or you're doing, flooring installation or a cleaning company, it's all the same. If somebody types in crime scene cleanup companies, you want to have in your ad crime scene cleanup company. Notice I did not put companies here, because if you look like a robot and you try to use dynamic keyword insertion, that'll work against you. People actively avoid your ad when it looks like a computer made the ad. So you got to handwrite the ad still. But if it looks like it's handwritten, if you will, and it's therefore relevant, then you're going to have a doubling of click-through rate on your ad just because you've done that, and then therefore triple the amount of money you're going to make with the ancillary side benefits of doubling the click-through rate, i.e. lowering the cost per click, increasing the amount of times your ad will show as a whole, or eligible to show, or Google wants to show it. And there you go, tripled your money right off the bat, just with this one technique. Going further here, though, if you want to make a little extra money, you can actually add the keyword to your description. And if you haven't noticed it before, Google bolds the description if you have the keyword in your description, which makes it even more clickable and stands out even more. So I would recommend doing that as well for yourself. Furthermore, if you add the user's location to your ad, you'll double the click-through rate again, roughly speaking. And so what you are going to do with something like this is like what we do at our firm. If we're going to have a service area that we're covering of the whole Phoenix Metro, we're going to make a list of all the cities within Phoenix Metro, and then we're going to create one campaign for each, so that we can, if the user's from Scottsdale, they can see Scottsdale on their ad. Because with this market in particular, everybody is thinking, well, do they cover my area? And if you're going to tell me up front on the ad that you cover my area, and these other ads are going to make me go to the site and really dig or even call, obviously I'm going to click on your ad. This is just how it works. So just having that city name in the ad is good. You get a doubling in click-through rate just from that, and you'll make three times as much money just from that, in addition to what the keyword in the ad is going to do for you ultimately. So I would recommend doing that as well. The ad, when they have to decide of one ad to click on, your ad is just the obvious one to click on every time. So, and with that, the landing page, so all the stuff I just mentioned is great. It'll make you a lot of money. This will make you even more money. It'll literally triple the conversion rate of the traffic that you're getting, because you're using a landing page that's proven and tested to be optimized to maximize that. And for the reason that you're communicating the 3 key things that they always needed to know right up front to be willing to call you or fill out the form right up front within 5 seconds or less, which is they need to know, can you do it? Do you cover my area? Can I trust you? And of course, if you put in the headline what they typed into Google, they know right away that you do what they came to Google for instantly. If you put their city name right after that, they know that you cover their area. And I'm not saying put the name of your metro area here. I mean the actual city that they're in, so they know that you cover the area. And then furthermore, the last thing you always have to do is make sure they know that they can trust you. And if you have your average review scores in 3 different places here on the page before they have to scroll anywhere, everybody knows what that is. You're going to get, massive increase in conversion rate having that with the other 2 things in there. And we've gotten conversion rates with this basic layout here upwards of 60% at the end of the day from this. And very repeatably, we'll get 20, 30, 40% from this, but upwards of 60. So this is just a layout. It's a layout itself that is what gets the results. Use the layout, you'll get the results. So it's all because we're conveying what the user needs to know quickly and efficiently to them without having to have a bunch of garbage in the way that they have to sift through. So with that said, wrapping all this up, essentially, so all the stuff that I shared with you here today, this is not rocket science. The reason why it works is twofold. One, your competition's not doing it. Less than 1% of people out there are going to be willing to do this stuff. Either they don't know about it or they're not willing to do it. And then also it helps the user make a decision. Anything that helps the user make a decision easier is going to make you more money. So when you combine the 2, if you're going to be the one that's going to be willing to do it in your market and you're going to help that user out, you're going to make lots more money with your campaigns. And that's just how it works. So with that said, it could be it's up to you if that's going to be you or not in your market. Where do we go from here? So if you like the tips that I gave you on today's presentation, you can find me on YouTube, and I have a lot more tips just like this on my channel. And you can search for a Guaranteed PPC and you'll be able to easily find me there. If you need some help doing the stuff that I mentioned in today's presentation, you can reach out to my firm at Guaranteed PPC. I'd be happy to give you a quote on this stuff. And I guarantee all the work that I do for my clients here. So if you have any questions, of course, I'd be happy to answer any possible questions that you have. So we're going to go into the Q&A section of this presentation next and be happy to hear what those are.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Okay, a few questions. So let's see. All right. So one of the questions that John and Leah both had, let's discuss those. So John's asking, what about responsive search ads? And Leah says, wouldn't Google already be doing this for responsive search ads? Do you want to touch on that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure exactly. It looks like it was about 20 minutes, 23 minutes into the presentation. So I'm not sure exactly what slide you were on, but they're talking about what about responsive search ads? So if we want to go back a little bit, and John or Leah, what section was that in? Let me see if. How do you deal with responsive ads where you can get a bunch of headlines? So Fernando is saying, how do you deal with responsive ads where you can write a bunch of headlines? How do you get them to always show your keyword as a headline? So maybe you just want to expand on responsive search ads in general. It seems like we have a couple questions about them.
Yeah, so I talked about using the user search in the headline of the ad. So typically every single time then what we'll do making any ad is make sure that first headline is the user search or the keyword that we're targeting in that ad group. And so we'll pin the headline. So you can make sure that keyword is in the headline every single time because we have it pinned. And then of course, if we're adding the location in the ad and we need to make sure that that's shown second, we can just pin the second headline. And then the third headline, we'll sometimes pin that, sometimes we won't. But at the end of the day, responsive search ads are there to have help the average advertiser who don't know really so much how to write an ad, test a bunch of different things to get results. The things that I'm mentioning here on the presentation is what kind of most people want to see. So you might as well just give them what they want, and you'll get more results quicker with that ultimately.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so is there any software or anything to use or test the product images in Google Shopping like you showed?
Yeah, so there's quite a few different softwares out there that do that. They're usually quite expensive. For like Shopify, there's something called Channable, which is like $100 a month software. However, the supplemental product feed on Google Merchant Center, that's totally free, and you can use that, and that's actually more user friendly. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend just starting there. And then if you want to get fancy, so to say, you can go out there, and there's some different softwares that you can tap into. If you want to know what they are, you can reach out to me at my firm, and I'll let you know what your options are.
Okay. Bojan asks, what do you do in the ad headline when the user is searching near me in the actual keyword?
What do I use there? So it can be done a couple different ways. My favorite is just to say whatever the keyword is near you and just say that, because that stands out to the user. It's like whatever gets the attention is going to make more money. So, and then of course we always put the location, or if they're super close, the address, so that obviously proves that we're near them. So if you can use that in combination, that's a really good way to go about doing it. At least the way that we found that works well.
Okay, good. So yeah, a couple questions on this. So how do you set your ad up so that the headline and the ad matches what the users type into Google, and you don't get any crossover or mismatching? Because I also have somebody asking about, with a single keyword in the ad groups, how do you recommend customizing landing pages? So maybe kind of go over a little bit of the ad creation, like how do you create so many ads, with only so many landing pages?
Yeah, sure. So as far as a lot of people don't necessarily, to make sure you have a custom ad for every keyword you're targeting, you need to have an ad group actually for every keyword to do that. And then people think that if they do that, then Google's not going to know what ad to show for what keyword, and there's crossover there. One of the ways that you prevent that is, to give you an example, if we had the keywords red shoes and then big red shoes, the ad group that has the keyword red shoes by itself, we would add the word big as a negative keyword to that ad group with the red shoes, so that the ad group with the keyword red shoes would not trigger if they use the word big. Whereas the ad group that has big red shoes as a keyword that doesn't have the negative keyword big would trigger for that keyword big red shoes, if that makes sense. It's called negative keyword siloing. And that's one of the ways you do it. Now, that said, it's still going to take some time for Google to figure it out. You're going to have to run your ads for a while, but after a few months of doing it, Google will get better and better and better at making sure that the ad that's supposed to show for the keyword it's supposed to show will happen. Because ultimately, inevitably, they're going to go for the highest click-through rate. And that's always going to be with when you wrote a custom ad for that keyword. So they're going to figure it out, even though it's kind of off at the beginning. But if you stick with it, it will pan out the way that you want it. So so that is the deal with that. And then I forgot the other half of what the other question was in regards to that. Can you refresh my memory there?
So the other one was with a single keyword ad groups, how do you recommend doing the custom landing pages, or do you recommend custom landing pages for each?
Yeah, so we use a landing page tool called Unbounce, and with that, we'll make a landing page literally for every keyword, and it takes a while to do at the beginning. You might have 1,000 landing pages or something like that when you're done, but once it's done, it's all segregated to that program, and you don't have to worry about pages getting deleted accidentally or whatever. But yeah, we'll have a literal page for every ad group that we have, and so that user always gets exactly what they want after they've clicked on that ad. And what's said on the ad is what's delivered on the landing page, which is what everybody wants.
Okay. Question from Farhad about responsive search ads. Question is, when can we start using smart bidding strategies? What kind of situation is in the need for? So for example, is it more than 10 campaigns? Is it more than 100 responsive ads? So is there a certain threshold that they need to meet as an advertiser to start using smart bidding strategies?
Sure. Good question. So what I do that I found works the best is we always start out with enhanced CPC bidding on any new campaign, regardless of the situation. The reason for that is because if you start out with smart bidding, it's going to take forever for the campaign to get ramped up. It doesn't have enough data, and we don't have forever to wait for this thing to scale up. However, when we get about 30 conversions in our overall account, if we have a bunch of new campaigns that we released in an account, then at that time we'll generally switch over to smart bidding. The maximize conversions or we'll maximize conversions. And then for the lead generation campaigns, if we're talking about our revenue and doing maximize conversion value for an e-commerce site, we'll wait till we have closer to like 50 plus sales come through. So in summary, you start out with the enhanced CPC bidding, and then you eventually switch over, you get 30, 40, 50 different conversions in that account overall. Then switching over, you're going to get better results with the smart bidding than you are going to be with the manual bidding because of the machine learning that Google has. They're going to be able to do things that you can't do, but it'll just be slow at the beginning if you start using it day one.
Okay, so while we're on that topic, Cole just asked, why do you use enhanced CPC rather than manual CPC, speaking more so about services rather than e-com?
The reason why we use enhanced CPC is because if you have the manual CPC set up, it's so strict in what it's set up to do. So if somebody outbids you, automatically you're not going to show for that keyword anymore. So you like literally have to go into the account all the time and adjust your bids to make sure you're showing up in the top 4. And we usually don't have time for that basically, whereas enhanced CPC bidding, it won't do that. It'll actually bid a little bit higher to make sure you're still showing for that keyword. Not always, but for the most part, it actually just kind of helps you out along that line. And also Google builds some machine learning into the bidding as well. So they'll actually raise the bid for you if they analyze the person that's searching, the prior history that person's had. It looks like they're more likely to convert. It'll actually bid a little bit higher so that you don't miss out on that click. Versus manual bidding, you don't have that. It's just, either shows up or it doesn't. It doesn't look at the user's past history. It doesn't look at that user's traits individually. It's as well. Is that a person that looks like they're going to convert because they have a high income or what have you?
Okay, so taking one step back and going back to the multiple landing pages, Gaspar is asking, wouldn't making multiple landing pages affect your SEO ranking?
It's a good question. So what we always try to do is, so first of all, if you don't do anything to your landing pages and you just have all these pages, which in the SEO world, they call them doorway pages because that's what they always kind of call them. We found that even if you don't do anything to it to prevent there to be a ranking penalty, I've never seen any ranking penalty come from this. That said, if you were particularly paranoid, you could add the canonical tag to each of the pages to point to the one page, if you will, and then you wouldn't be worrying about a penalty of any sort. But we go ahead and we lean into it. For our clients, when we have all those landing pages, we take the pages, we put them into a sitemap for the client, and then we upload the sitemap to Google Merchant Center, or Google Search Console and the Bing Search Console so that they actually get indexed, because so many of the times Google starts ranking those pages. Why? Because so much of their algorithms are predicated on whether somebody got a good experience from your page or not. And when you have a page that's perfectly optimized for somebody in Cleveland, Ohio, that's searching for 24/7 towing services, and they get to that page and they convert at 60%, they say, well, this should rank higher. And so you basically, giving kind of what they want, so to say, and it can supplement though what you're doing. You don't have to stop your other activities, but those pages should also rank. And then similarly, as you advertise those pages, they start getting bookmarked more by people that have gotten there through the ad. It's going to start ranking because of that reason alone. And then the higher your ad spend goes, the more those pages are also going to rank, to the point where if you spend more than $10,000 a month on Google Ads, the rankings will go off the charts just because of that alone. So you get an extra like half of the value of running Google ads to these landing pages is the rankings that you're going to get eventually, that'll come up with the amount, when you're scaling your ad spend along with it, so to say.
All right. I think that catches us up. Okay, so let's see. We'll take like one or two more questions. And so Bohan is asking, how do we increase the landing page experience quality score? Oh, Corey, I think, did you freeze?
So
there you go.
I gave some examples of, oh, okay, sorry.
I think you're back.
So
it's
I
okay.
didn't, okay. I didn't talk about landing pages at all for e-commerce, but and the best thing I can tell you in just the short time span is to try to use a layout like I gave you, because that layout is really, really effective. And we've tested hundreds of landing pages to find what layout kind of works the best. So if your landing page converts at a high rate, bottom line, your landing page experience score is going to go up, because that's basically what it's predicated on. Everything in Google Ads is predicated on click-through rate, conversion rate on your landing page. If you do those two things, your quality score is going to go up. And so that's what I would tell you there.
Okay. All right, we'll take this because I think this is somewhat of a simple question, but Tamara asks, if you have already started with smart bidding, can you switch back to CPC?
You can. It's going to cause some negative volatility in your numbers for a while doing that. So you're going to want to be really sure you want to do that, because you might take a 2 or 3 week hit in your performance while it readjusts its system. The system readjusts itself, but you can do that. For the most part, though, once you switch to smart bidding, I don't usually switch back. And it's better to use the smart bidding like a lever, like you would do with the bidding anyway. So in other words, if you think you're spending too much for a lead, just lower the target cost per lead lower and lower until you get to the point where you're not paying too much for a click, if that's what your point is, basically, so to say. That's what I would basically say to the whole thing.
Okay. All right, Corey, if you're up for it. So Jennifer asks a question back to the landing pages. She says, as someone who has done this for 12 years, PPC and SEO, you should set them to not index, because then they're not competing with your main service page. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mentioned the canonical tag because some people, I agree. Technically, it's against Google's rules or whatever. And at the very least, you might want to put the canonical tag on there, because then you're not signaling to Google you're trying to rank these per se. But if you do the no index, you're not going to get the ranking of the landing page as an added bonus. So you can do that, but I'm always telling our clients, don't add the no index, because you're not, part of the value is the rankings of the landing pages you're going to get absolutely from this by running all this traffic to these landing pages. So why would you want to give that up? So it's always obviously your call whether or not you want to do that. But I just see it as a supplement. The landing pages can rank, and so can your main site. They don't have to be an either or thing.
Okay. And yeah, that question came from Kitty. And Kitty, I did see your earlier question about the side door pages versus landing pages. So I kind of figured, that was kind of right up your alley. So I hope we answered your question there.
Pinning the headline reduces the ad strength. With that question, this is a common question. So the ad strength doesn't have anything to do with how much money you're going to make from your ads. Now, naturally, if the ad strength goes down, your impressions go down a little bit initially. That actually does happen. But if you have an ad that's legitimately going to get a higher click-through rate because you're giving users what you want and you know that ad will work, you'll be better off doing that and getting a lower ad strength score, because once Google sees it has a higher click-through rate, it's going to push it more anyway, because its ultimate end goal is higher click-through rates. And so naturally, they just have that way because most people don't know how to write an ad. So they want you to fill it up and they'll do their testing on their own. But if you know how to write an ad, then you're better off putting in the ad what works instead of putting a bunch of stuff and then the algorithm has to sift through it all. And so don't worry about the ad strength score initially. Just, if you use the techniques I've given you, any short-term penalty and impressions will go away, and 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks anyway, and then there's no drawback to it at all.
Okay. And Arnella asks, which keywords bring the most conversions? Broad match, exact match, phrase match?
So there's new stuff coming out from Google that they are encouraging you to use broad match keywords. I don't do that until I can't get any more from phrase match and exact match. And so you always want to start conservative so that you don't basically run out of money before your campaigns work if you're starting out. And once you got everything out of the exact match, you can go phrase match and then eventually broad match. 98% of the time, we never even do broad match because it's so broad. It's just so hard to make money. And eventually you can make money with it if you're going to wait around long enough for the algorithm to find you customers. So at the end of the day, broad match may potentially have the most potential for more customers overall, but you're going to wait longer to get the customers and they're going to be at a much higher price initially while the algorithm figures out how to find you customers. Whereas with the exact match, you're going to find them pretty much right away and they're going to be at a cheap cost right away. But you may not have the upside, which is why you just extract everything you can out of exact, then go to phrase, then go to broad, and just walk it up like that. Is what I would recommend.
Okay. So Mandy has a good question. If you're just going to keep taking them and they're going to keep putting them in here, I'm just going to keep asking them. Corey, so here we go. Mandy has a good question. She says, as a small clinic, we recently noticed some medical terms became sensitive to Google Ads. Any suggestions how to deal with this?
So as far as Google search, they have sensitive terms they won't let you advertise on now. I believe what you're referring to is something like PRP treatment in the hair loss space, where the terms are just banned or whatever. And in that case, so there's not much you can do necessarily about advertising that if you want to still advertise on that word PRP, given the keyword itself is just banned. And if you use the word PRP anywhere on the landing page, you'll get banned. So like I've mentioned before, like in other, prohibited industries, even though seems wild to bring this up, but like if you were doing tobacco or e-cigarettes or whatever, you don't advertise what you're advertising as is. You reword how you're phrasing it. What are some verbiage that people use that's not the banned words that people know what it is, and then try to use those words instead? Because usually it's just certain keywords that are banned, even though I don't want to get you in trouble per se. But usually it's not like that's a problem anyway. You just got to be able to not speak in direct terms about what you're doing. And maybe that is going to be running ads somewhere else on Google Display Network or something like that. So they've gotten pretty strict on certain keywords like that. And like even if you have a keyword anywhere on your website and you're advertising for other keywords, they can take your whole account down. So there's really not much you can do other than just avoid those and then try to go more vague potentially.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. I think we've made it through if there's any that we did miss, Corey, I'll make sure that that we get those over to you. Okay, Mandy threw one in there. All right. As a service provider, what should we focus on? Conversion value, or clicks?
So obviously, if you're doing e-commerce, the client is always going to focus on the conversion value and the revenue. That said, Google Ads undercounts the conversions usually by 1/3 to 2/3. You got to usually look at the client's overall sales. And what I like to do with my clients is map out what is their overall sales doing and what is your ad spend? What's an acceptable ratio between those two? And then let's see how fast we can raise the budget while still maintaining that ratio. Do you need a dollar or do you need $10 in sales for every dollar in ad spend? Okay, let's see how much we can raise the ad spend while maintaining that ratio. That's the best way to talk to clients about getting results, even though you're going to use the conversion value to guide the account and see like what demographics work and all that. But to see how much profit it makes, that's a much better way to go about discussing it with the client and what the true value is, given so many people come back weeks, months later, and a lot of it doesn't get picked up. As far as the, like for lead generation, with that, of course, it's always, they want to know how many leads they're getting. But even with that, that in itself is so deceptive because lead quality varies so much. So you use cost per lead and you report on that, obviously, but the second best thing to do is to help them get their CRM system hooked up to their campaign. So when a lead comes in, eventually later on down the line, they can do a report and see all the leads that they made over the last 6 months, and they can see how much money they made from all them. If you want to keep that client long term, that's a better that's a second thing that you want to do, we'll just say.
All right. So with that, we're going to close it out. Like I said, if we didn't get to any of your questions, we'll get them over to Corey and he can get back to you. But yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Corey, thank you so much for being here. Tell the people where to find you.
Yep. You can find me either on YouTube. You can search for Guaranteed PPC on YouTube and find my YouTube channel there, or regularly release videos there. You can also find me at my site at guaranteedppc.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Corey, for sharing everything today. And we will see you all on the next SEJ webinar. Have a good day. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.